Delmarva Studios proudly presents The Weekly Retro, starring Gunnar and George. The Weekly Retro is a podcast that takes a lighter look at life, from the 80s to today. We talk about classic music, classic TV, and classic movies that we all loved growing up. We also talk about how life has changed over the last 40 years, for the good and not so good. Send your questions, comments, and concerns to theweeklyretro@mail.com. Without any further ado, here are your hosts, Gunnar and George.
What's going on, everybody? Episode 2, The Weekly Retro, live from beautiful the Delmarva Peninsula, the eastern seaboard, if you will. Welcome aboard. I'm your host, George, and also hosting, as always,
Gunnar.
Gunnar, what's going on, man? How are you doing? How was your weekend?
It was good. Kind of uneventful. Didn't do a whole lot, stuff with the family. Went out for dinner with the wife last night, so that was nice. So how about you?
Where'd you guys go?
We went to a great little place in Old Newcastle called Jessop's Tavern. Very
that's
nice.
Where my cousin's husband is the head chef there.
Nice.
So you probably ate his cooking.
I highly recommend it. It's good atmosphere. If you're looking for a little romantic evening with your significant other, very nice. The food is excellent. Not a huge menu, but really, really good food. We always get it's a chicken that's blackened and it's on a pretzel roll.
Oh, wow.
And it is, and they throw on a side of sweet potato fries. Good stuff. I highly recommend it if you've never been.
Nice. We lay low. I had a lot of prep. I'm starting my new my new job Wednesday, so I was connecting with those folks, doing a lot of audio, video checks, learning how to intro, outro, and stuff like that. It was a little cooler this weekend, but it looks like it's going to be a beautiful week here on the eastern seaboard here in the Delmarva area, and I hope you guys are having some nice weather too. Episode 2, make sure you go to the website, theweeklyretro.com. We have our updated songs of the week, movies of the week, and Mark, I was able to actually find your entire movie. So if somebody wants to watch your movie of the week, they can watch it in its entirety on the Weekly Retro. theweeklyretro.com. Just click on Movies of the Week, and you can watch your movie of the week, which will be revealed here in a little bit. So let's kick this thing off. Mark, you have this day in retro history.
Actually, I ran into some issues this morning. I was a little unprepared for that, so I apologize. Give me literally 2 seconds, and I will get you one. So what'd you do this weekend? Anything exciting, George?
No, I was just, like I said, I had a lot of audio video prep. Spent some time with the fam. The wife is on a 3-day shift. She worked last night. She works tonight and Tuesday night. And just lots of prep. Like I said, I start my national radio show here Wednesday. So I spent a lot of time with those folks yesterday making sure the audio sync was set up, because obviously I'm not in a studio. I'm here working from home. So we were working on intros, outros, preparing music and things like that.
All right. So I do have a this day in history. Back in 1985, West German Parliament rules it is illegal to deny the Holocaust. So a little bit more of a historical sense. Nothing music related, but a little bit more on the historical side.
And that would have been, if I remember correctly, 4 years prior to the Berlin Wall falling. I think that happened in 1989.
Yes, sir.
Good stuff. All right, well, let's get right to our Song of the Week. I have got mine right in front of me, so I'll go ahead and kick it off. Song of the Week is Autographs, Turn Up the Radio. which was released in 1984, a year after one of the greatest years of music history. Turn Up the Radio was, for my bets, one of the... it's a great album, front to end. The B-side was Thrill of Love. It was released on December 22nd, 1984. Back then it was considered glam metal. It ran about 4 minutes and 38 seconds. Very, very catchy tune. And like I said, it was released December, but it really caught wind in the spring. And I think it peaked at number 29 or so, which... It's kind of a bummer. I thought it did a lot better. It was used in Miami Vice and Miami Vice episode. And it was just a very... And the video I put on our website, it was the extended one where it starts with the robots and stuff. So, like I said, great album, front to back. If you guys have not heard the album, sign in, please. And you're a fan of 80s. Send Her to Me, Turn Up the Radio, 19 and Nonstop, Cloud 10. It's just a great album, front to end. So check that out.
That's a great choice, George. I love the song when it came out. I believe we were in 9th grade. And yeah, I'm with you on that. I would have thought it would have charted higher. Very catchy. To me, it resonated the 80s. I thought it was a fantastic song, and one of my favorites right around that time.
Yeah, it's a great album. That song, that was definitely one of my favorites from 1984. And what is your song of the week?
My song of the week comes from an album that came out the very same year, 1984. Kind of stumbled on this album, but my song of the week is Power Slave by Iron Maiden from the album Power Slave. And if my memory serves me correctly, I bought it on a whim. I saw it at the old listening booth at the Christiana Mall. And,
that's right. Was that before they changed it to the wall?
Yes. Well, actually, it was listening booth. Then it was called Wall to Wall, and then they shortened it to just the wall.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So at the time I was in there, it was a listening booth, and I was in the record store, which I spent a lot of my youth in that particular store, and sure. I saw it on the end cap, picked it up. Didn't know a whole lot of, I had heard Run to the Hills from, I believe their Peace of Mind album. I didn't know a whole lot about the band, and I bought it, took it home. I bought it on cassette, put it in my Walkman. I remember sitting in homeroom and listening to it, and it blew me away from the first chord I heard till the end. And I think I told you about it. You went out and bought it, and you fell in love with it. So to me, to this very day, it's by far, it's probably, as most Maiden fans would tell you, it's probably their most popular album. They had a huge 2-year-plus tour that followed.
Live After Death.
Resulted into the fantastic Live After Death album that was recorded on that tour. So that song itself, it's not a real poppy 80s song, so I kind of went against the grain a little bit, but that's what the show's about. We want to change it up. We want to keep it different, unique, and exciting. So that's my song of the week.
It's outstanding choice. Is that your favorite song off the album?
I would probably say that is my favorite song, but my second favorite song is probably the 13.5-minute long final song on side B, which is called Rhyme of the Ancient Mariner.
Really? That's funny. That's probably my least favorite on the album.
Yeah. I think because it's not the traditional, 4 or 5 minute song. I think the shortest song on the album, it only has 7 songs on it, 7 or 8. Maybe it has 8 now that I think of it. But it is each song runs about 5 to 6 minutes. But that song, like I said, it's more of a story, and there's even some narration of the book in there. So yeah, I always liked it because I liked the guitar in it. And Nico McBrain, to me, was one of the most underrated drummers of the 80s. But the whole album is great from start to finish.
Yeah, and that's sad. Most people have no idea who that is either. When you say his name, it's not like when you say John Bonham or the guy from Rush. His name escapes me, but I mean I know it 90% of the time. The guy Neil Peart. Neil Peart.
Yep. Yeah, he was actually not their original drummer. He came on, I think, after their I think by their third album, he was brought on right around the same time that Bruce Dickinson became the lead singer, because they had a different singer for their first two records. And then Bruce Dickinson came on, and to me, he just took the band to another level. But yeah, if you all out there haven't heard that album, it sounds even better on vinyl. So yeah, check it out.
What's it running on vinyl right now? If you go to eBay, about $30.
I actually got my copy about 6 months ago, and I paid about $26, including shipping.
Oh, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, but what's really neat about a lot of the vinyls that are coming out now is they try to replicate all the original, like the liner notes, the inner sleeve that the album comes in, the actual on the dead wax in the center where the spindle hole is, like the label's the same. They try to put all the inserts exactly as it was when it originally came out. So, yeah, I actually put it on the turntable about 2 weeks ago and listened to all of side one, and it sounds really, really good, really crisp. Really, the acoustics are great. So
that's awesome. Well, it's a great choice, great song, great album, and like you said, it follows up to Live After Death. If you're a fan of that particular genre, don't miss it. Moving along to our movies of the week. Mine is one of my favorite movies from the 80s, and a lot of people, this goes under the radar.
Does it ever feel like everyone's got more going than you do? Oops. That everyone is smart.
So you're Al Myers' kid? Yes, I am. You look pretty stupid to me. Thank you.
You say the best skier in town just ran off with your girlfriend? Even your younger brother does better than you do? And that nobody even cares?
That scene when he walks in, his younger brother's got like 8 girls in his bedroom and they're smoking a bong. It's classic. That's Better Off Dead from 1985. And if you remember, his sidekick was the guy who ended up being, Booger on Revenge of the Nerds?
Yes. I've actually only seen that movie one time, and it's been years since I've seen it, but it's hilarious.
Oh, yeah. We have it on DVD, and that's in our regular rotation. We don't watch a lot of television as per se, like news and things like that, but we'll get out of we'll plug back into the Matrix every now and then, and we'll watch a movie like this. It's just really the kind of humor where you just want to sit back, turn off your brain for 90 minutes and laugh. It's one of those movies. It's really funny. And, of course, the Japanese guys in the car, every time he pulls up to a red light, and they speak in the voice of Howard Cosell.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's going to make me want to. I do not own it, but I have a pretty vast Blu-ray and collection, so I'm going to have to look that up on eBay and get myself a copy.
I think actually we got it on Amazon for like $7 or $8. Very cheap.
Yeah, I'd hate to guess how long it's been since I've seen it. I'd probably, if I was to throw it out there, I'd probably say it's been at least 15 years since I've seen it. Like I said, I've only seen it one time, but I did enjoy it.
And it's a great cast, too. You had John Cusack, who needs no introduction, but also David Ogden Stiers, who was in MASH, if you remember.
Yeah, I think I do.
He was the major, the guy who, Major Winchester.
Correct me if I'm wrong. Is that the movie where at the beginning, the trash man, the one African-American guy says, man, they just threw away a perfectly good white boy.
Yes, that's the movie.
That was actually, you know what I do remember, George? That was actually in the commercial promoting the movie when it was in theaters, that line.
Probably.
Yeah.
That's back when people could tell a joke and not offend half the population.
Exactly. And if I'm not correct, was that John Cusack's first major role?
You know, it may have been. He may have had some other roles prior to that, but I think
there were smaller roles, maybe.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. His first... Oh, he was in 16 Candles as Bryce. I forgot about that. But that was, once again, he wasn't one of the main characters. He was in Grandview, USA, which kind of is one of those under-the-radar films, too. He was Johnny Main. And then, so he had 4 movies under his belt by the time he took off his Better Off Dead. But I think that was his first big role. And then, of course, a year later, he was in Stand By Me, and then he was off to the races after that.
Yeah, he's a good actor. I enjoy his movies. You haven't seen him in a whole lot lately.
No, but remember, I thought he did a great job because we're baseball fans. 8 Men Out was really good.
Yes.
And then, of course, the legendary movie to wrap up the 80s, Say Anything, which is one of the most famous scenes from any 80s movies.
You're going to slap me upside the head, and then the next week, I've never seen that movie.
Really?
No.
That song was like the perfect movie to close the 80s. He's standing outside his girlfriend's window with the boombox over his head.
Yes. Yep. Yeah.
Well, folks, I'll write up Gunner after the show, and we'll make sure he will watch the movie before the next podcast.
Or I will be restricted from being on air again.
You will have to speak in Chinese during the next podcast if you do not. All right, so what's your movie of the week?
You know what? I'm jealous. I like the direction you went. I like my movie, but I actually like your choice better. Better Off Dead is just, like I said, I saw it one time and loved it. And like I must own it. What's that?
Defeated man. This guy's killed me at the red light.
My movie of the week is the Arnold Schwarzenegger helmed Commando from 1985. So we were released on the same wavelength there because we both had the same year for our song and I believe the same year for our movie. I think that came out in summer of 85.
I think you're right.
And it was the very first appearance of Alyssa Milano. She was probably about 12 years old in that movie. She played his daughter. And have you ever seen that movie, George?
Of course.
Okay. My favorite line in that movie was where he was on the plane at the very beginning, and the guy was sitting next to him, and he hit the guy. He asked for a pillow. Arnold Schwarzenegger asked for a blanket and pillow, and the stewardess brings it to him, and he goes to lean forward and kicks his elbow back and knocks the guy who's taking him on the plane, knocks him out, and then snaps his neck, puts his head back, puts the hat over top of his head, and the stewardess comes back and she said, "Is your friend okay?" He's like, "Yes, he's dead tired."
He was very good at deadpanning his lines.
Yeah. Oh man, I watched that movie probably about a year ago. I own it, and I watched it. Man, he was freaking huge in that movie, man.
Yeah, he was jacked.
Yeah, he had muscle on top of muscle, but it's a very over the top, ridiculously over the top movie.
Sure, it's a popcorn movie.
Yeah, I mean, so if you're looking for, shoot 'em up, he blows away everybody, destroys stuff, blows up buildings, and wins in the end, this is your movie.
It was actually nominated for Best Special Effects, but of course, 85, they were going up against Back to the Future, so.
Yeah, it probably fell just a tad short.
Yeah, but it was actually the 7th highest grossing R-rated film of 1985 and the 25th highest grossing overall. It made a lot of money.
Wow.
That was one of those movies, and it came out in the fall, which is surprising. Its budget was only $9 million, and it made $60 million, and that was just at the box office, not DVD, Blockbuster rentals, or any of that stuff.
Well, and what was so different between then and now is, a movie would hit the theater and it was out for 4 months, and if it was a blockbuster, it was literally out for 6 months. And then you'd have to literally wait probably a good year before it came out on VHS. Now movies come out, they're in the theater. If it's popular, maybe 6 weeks to 2 months. And then it's on Blu-ray in like 3 months. So my money actually went towards that movie because I actually saw that movie one afternoon. I had nothing to do, and I went and saw it. And just a great 80s flick.
Were you working at the mall during that time?
No, at that time, I think it was right before I started working there. So I think that movie did come out just prior to my last week's movie of the week, Weird Science. I think it came out right around the time Back to the Future came out. So 85, I tell you what, 85 was a great year for movies.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
correct me if I'm wrong, Ferris Bueller's Day Off was either 85 or it might have been the tail end of 84. We talked about this in our last show.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep. And then, of course, Back to the Future, which is one of the biggest movies of the year, if not the biggest movie of the year.
Yeah, I would probably say it's probably the biggest. So, George. So, I was thinking of this morning. 80s was probably the biggest decade for fads and crazes. Would you not agree?
Of course, absolutely, without a doubt.
So I'm going to give you a little bit of time to come up with one, but I'm going to bring up, this is a new wrinkle that we can add to the show. We're going to bring up our fad of the week. So I have mine.
Fad of the week.
Fad or
I have one.
Or craze of the week.
I've got one.
You have one?
I do.
Okay. I have mine. I picked mine before we went on.
All right, so I'll let you go for, and bring up your video too so I can see you.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Because you said you wanted to show me something later, right?
Well, I'm not. Yeah, this doesn't have video.
Oh, okay.
It's just something I wanted to check.
What's your fad?
So mine, and let me know if you owned a pair, are parachute pants.
Oh, dude, that's what I was going to say. Yeah, of course I did. 9th grade, I had them.
Yeah, what color were yours?
Mine were gray.
Mine were red.
They were skin tight too, bro.
What's that?
They were skin tight.
Oh yeah, mine was the Michael Jackson limited edition pair.
Looks like a gopher was trying to get out of my pants, dude. They were so tight.
Yeah. Well, then, if you want to save it for our next show, which will hopefully be in a few days, you can pick another one, or you can save it for the next.
No, I'll
show.
pick another one. Let's go with everybody. At least we're in the Delaware area. We're in Delaware, but for us, early 80s, especially like that 83, 84, everybody, and I mean everybody, except for Jane Smith, she was such a loser, had, I just made that name up too. We don't know any Jane Smith. Jean jacket.
Yes, I owned one.
And they were adorned with your band's buttons and patches. You know, you had your ZZ Top, your Police, your big Quiet Riot, the guy, you know, in the straitjacket with the mask. So everybody represented what their favorite music band was at the time, or singer.
Well, there was a guy, and I think he was an auto mechanic, George. I can't remember his name. You were always so much better with names of our fellow high schoolers than I ever was. But there was one guy, and I think he was an auto mechanic. It's kind of a bruiser, kind of a big dude. He had a little bit of a white guy, but he had a little bit of the curly hair, the fro happening. Mm-hmm. But he had this jean jacket, and you had the hems on either side, and it was a massive swan song Led Zeppelin.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Do you know who I'm talking about?
I do, but I don't remember anybody's name.
Exactly. I didn't know him. He was kind of a big dude, so he kind of scared me. But he had that jacket, and as you know, that was always one of my very favorite pictures. Was Icarus with the wings spread out and had the huge Led Zeppelin logo at the top, and it had the sky with the yellow and the red. And I loved it. And every time I saw him, I'd be like, man, I'd love to have that jacket. So, at the time, my parents wouldn't have been overly thrilled with me walking around with a massive Led Zeppelin jean jacket on. So, I came from a pretty conservative upbringing.
It was also a great place to stash your weed.
Yeah. But I didn't do anything like that back then, George.
Oh, me neither. I don't even know what weed is. It's just things I hear about. Let's see. Famous birthdays. 1933. Speaking of weed, Carol Burnett, a comedian. The Carol Burnett Show and actress. Well, what do you think about when you think about Carol Burnett?
I think of her. I think of Harvey Korman. I think of...
what a funny guy.
Who?
What a funny guy, Harvey Korman.
Harvey Korman actually was probably my favorite character on her show. And the other guy smacked me upside the head once again for not remembering his name. He actually just passed away about a year or so ago.
Yeah, he used to do the dwarf on golf. He used to be on his knees like a little
yes. And he was always the dentist in the skits. Do you remember
that's
that?
right.
You're looking it up, aren't you?
Yes, I am. But the Carol Burnett show, but another thing a lot of people forget, she was also on Mad About You.
Oh, okay.
Tim Conway.
Tim Conway, thank you.
But you remember, Dick Van Dyke used to special guest on there every now and then, too. He'd pop on. And, of course, Vicki Lawrence was on there, and she went off and had big success with, what was the name of that show? Mama's Place or Mama's House?
Mama's Family.
Yeah, that's right. Mama's Family.
Yes. Great show.
Wow, she's only 72. I thought she was older than that. Maybe because she was always in a gray wig.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I mean, when that show was on, that show was actually on our TV, a lot when I was a kid.
Likewise.
My parents watched it, but it was on, I want to say it came on Saturday evenings.
It did.
And was it Saturday?
Indeed, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was that. You're going to laugh when I tell you this. It was that or Hee Haw on Saturday night.
Oh, yeah.
Did you watch Hee Haw?
That was always on at my grandparents' house every Saturday night. Gloom, despair is agony on me.
Where
yeah.
are you tonight?
Could you imagine that being on Saturday night now?
Oh, I know.
That would not get any ratings. Next, we have Gary Wright, born this day on 1943. Of course, he's an American singer, songwriter, musician, best known for his hits in the 70s, Dreamweaver and Love is Alive. Did you like those songs?
Not really.
I know you're not big into synth rock, are you?
No. Dreamweaver, I'm very, very familiar with. I just was not a fan.
Oh, okay.
No, like yourself, I had two older brothers, so I grew up with Aerosmith, Blue Oyster Cult, Kansas, all that stuff, all that rock and roll, and ELO. So that kind of 70s. It's funny, and this is not associated with our decade, but a song popped on somewhere. I can't remember where I heard it. And do you remember the song "Afternoon Delight"?
Of course.
Oh my word! I heard that. I'm like, oh my Lord! It's like I stepped into a time machine.
Well, the funny thing is, when you're a kid, everybody was singing it, but when you get old and you realize what the song's about,
what it is exactly. You're like, ooh.
Andrew Dice Clay. How about an afternoon delight? Oh. Yeah. Funny thing about Love is Alive. Well, for me, I had an older sister. My dad listened to country, and then my mom and sister listened to like ABBA and Barry Manilow. So I was like the odd guy out music-wise in my family. I come in the house blaring Steppenwolf. Love is Alive, when I heard it, remember kids, back then we didn't have the internet. So I'd hear the song, and it was one of them songs, like it would go to a commercial. Like it took me years to ever figure out the name of the song or who sang it. I heard it on the radio so many times every now and then. And normally the DJ would come back, that's Love is Alive by Gary Wright. We'll be back after these messages. But every time I heard the song, it just went straight into a commercial or into another song. It took me like into the 80s before I ever figured out who sung it. And once again, I went down to the wall and found it. But it was one of those songs that took me a while to figure out who even sang it.
Yeah.
I liked Love is Alive. I enjoyed it. 1955, Mike Scott, American baseball player, three-time All-Star, born Santa Monica, California, this day in 1955. What are your memories on Mike?
Mike Scott, and this was when you and I were at our, I don't want to say pinnacle of baseball watching, but baseball was huge with you and I, and we had that bond in common. But if you look at his ninth year of 1986, he had a very dominant year. I want to say, if he didn't win the Cy Young, he finished second, probably to Doc Gooden. But Mike Scott had just an unworldly year that year. He struck out, I believe, well over 300 batters. But the thing is he was arguably, might have been the very first guy to do it. He threw at that time, which was a brand new, unheard of pitch called the split-fingered fastball.
Oh, really?
And yes, and he was pretty much the only guy who threw it. And not only was he the only guy, but he was extremely effective in doing so. So he bewildered batters. And I remember that year. That was the year the Mets won it all, the amazing Mets, and they faced each other in the National League Championship Series. And I believe the series went 7 games. And if I'm not mistaken, Mike Scott won 2, if not 3, of the games that they won.
Wow.
He was just absolutely dominant that year. He had a pretty decent year the following year from what I can remember. And then he kind of tailed off and you didn't hear much about him. But 1986 for Mike Scott was huge.
Yeah, 87 he made the All-Star team. 88 he threw another no-hitter. Or I'm sorry, he was denied a no-hitter. Ken Oberkfell singled to right with 2 outs in the 9th. So he almost had another no-hitter. And then, yeah, in 1989, he won 20 games, but he lost 10. And then 1990 on, he was plagued by injuries. The one thing I remembered about Mike, I was a big, I played wiffle ball every single day from like May until September. I loved wiffle ball. And the wiffle ball, the actual wiffle ball, had his face on it. And he had the endorsement with wiffle ball. And I also remember he had a fastball, man. That thing, he had heat. He was probably second to Nolan Ryan with the gas that guy threw with.
Well, and that was the thing. I mean, and anybody outside of New York, hated the Mets. Like they were cocky, they were arrogant, but the thing is, they were so good they could back it up. And I believe they won. I want to say 108 games that year, and they just embarrassed teams, and you knew they were an up and coming team. The year prior, in '85, they finished second, but they had these young guys. You had Darryl Strawberry. You had, Keith Hernandez they had picked up from St. Louis. Jesse Orozco in the bullpen. A young Sid Fernandez. Just a really, really Lenny Dykstra, former Philly. Lenny Dykstra before he became Popeye and roided up. But they just had such a talented team from Gary Carter as another one.
Oh, that's just right.
Top to
he
bottom.
Went from the Expos to the Mets.
Unbelievably talented. I mean, they had an awesome pitching staff. But the thing with the Astros, I was rooting hard for them because I didn't like the Mets. And they had Nolan Ryan and they had Mike Scott. And don't remember a whole lot of the other players that was on that team. But, yeah, Scott was just absolutely dominating. And he actually shut the Mets down in that series. And then they ended up winning it in 7 games, I believe.
It's funny you mentioned Lenny. I interviewed him in December 2019. I still have his audio. We'll have to pull it up on another show. That guy is something else.
Yeah, he's different. He's a pretty cool guy though.
When he found out there was no money in to what I was trying to get him to do, he disowned me. He didn't want to talk to me anymore.
Oh wow,
he's a bad dude.
Oh, okay.
Let's see here. 1959, John Corabi, a singer that kind of went under the radar. He was known for being in Motley Crue during Vince Neil's hiatus.
And you know what's funny? My sister's boyfriend is a huge Crue fan. Seen him probably about 26 times. Been to Vegas to see him. And he will tell you that John Corabi, he likes him a lot. A lot of Crue heads really enjoyed him.
Yep.
Me, I'm kind of I don't know. I don't like change. And to me, Vince Neil, usually the singer of a band is kind of the, when you hear a band and you hear their sound, you hear the music can stay the same, but you have a different singer, kind of like with Van Halen with, David Lee Roth leaving and Sammy Hagar taking over. It's one or the other, but when he took over for the short period Vince Neil was out of the band, Yeah, I just couldn't. I wasn't a fan. I don't know if you know much about his music, but
he's all right. Like you said, excuse me. It's very hard to replace a singer and keep on going. I think there's only two exceptions where I can think of. That would be Van Halen and AC/DC, where I enjoyed both of their works, and I wasn't bothered too much by either. Where I know people get in arguments, bro, it's either Roth or it's Van Halen or it's Van Hagar, bro.
Yeah.
And I enjoy both of them for what they are. I really love one of my favorite AC/DC songs is A Long Way to the Top, If You Want to Rock and Roll, and that was with Brian Johnson, the original. Or was Brian Johnson the original or the newer?
No, Brian Johnson replaced Bon Scott.
Bon Scott. Okay, Bon Scott was the original one who drank himself to death.
But two totally different styles. I mean, that's the thing that makes that worked well and surprisingly well, because Back in Black it was either the first or second album featuring Brian Johnson, and the album did amazing. Bon Scott had totally different style, where Brian Johnson was like but I don't know, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. I'm with you. I enjoyed them both as vocalists.
This Day, 1960, Roger Taylor, another drummer who was really underrated. I thought his work on those first 3 albums, especially on Rio, was done really, really good. It's Roger Taylor from Duran Duran.
Yeah. He was also the drummer with Power Station, I believe.
I thought that was Tony Thompson.
Oh, you know what? I'm thinking of
Arcadia?
No, I'm thinking of for Power Station. It was Roger Taylor, not Roger Taylor. The let's see,
Tony Taylor.
Tony Taylor was the drummer, but they also had 2 members of Duran Duran on that band. With
they
Robert
had the
Palmer,
brothers. They had the guitarists.
Yes, that's what I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Not the drummer.
Right.
Now, whether or not he was the drummer with Arcadia, I'm not sure. I know that was kind of I know that had John Taylor was with Power Slate.
John Taylor, yeah,
Power
thank
Station.
you.
And I'm trying to think of the band members. I know it was Duran singer, and I know their keyboardist was with Arcadia.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, he's great. Their keyboardist.
Yeah, he's very good. Duran Duran to me is one of those big '80s bands, but really a band that I don't think got the recognition that they really should have gotten. I mean, there was about a 2 or 3 year period there where they were at the top of their game, but they had some really good stuff.
Yeah, Nick Rhodes and John Taylor were in
Arcadia.
They were also in Power Station.
Oh, okay.
John Taylor and Nick Rhodes. You had the guitarist.
Nick Rhodes, yes.
Yeah, and then of course you had Tony Thompson on drums, and then you had the great, what's his name?
Robert Palmer,
who really dissed the guys. It was kind of crappy what he did, but what are you going to do?
Yeah.
They did one live song, and that was on Saturday Night Live. They had a tour. His manager said, hey, this is as popular as you're ever going to get. Let's go out. He dropped a quick album on his own and did a tour and left the Power Station high and dry.
Yeah, I agree with you. It kind of ticked off the remaining members. They actually had big plans. A lot of people think that was a one-and-done project, and it was just a side thing. It was going to be the one album. But the rest of the band, like you said, other than Robert Palmer, they wanted to have a huge tour. They wanted to they wanted to stay together as a band and see how it went. And I think Robert Palmer's ego may have gotten the better of him. And they actually did release a second Power Station album, but it barely even charted, if it did chart at all.
Yeah, it wasn't very good.
Yeah.
This day in 1963, Jet Li was born. Chinese actor, martial artist, won a movie I really enjoyed, and I think DMX was in it too. Romeo Must Die.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Good movie. You into those type of action movies?
Yes. Yeah. I tell you what, he was in a movie with Jason Statham about 10, 12 years ago.
I think it's called War or something like that.
Yes, War. Not a bad movie. Jet Li is okay. You haven't really seen a whole lot of him too much lately. He's kind of been quiet, but Jason Statham, he's actually, as far as action movies go, if I'm putting my money on anybody, it'd be him.
For sure.
Yeah, he's awesome.
For sure. My wife is a big Jackie Chan fan. She loves his movies.
Yeah, he's good. He's pretty good comedic actor too. I think.
Absolutely. This day in 1965, Kevin James from the King of Queens fame.
My favorite show.
He is, what does that make him? 56 today. He's not much older than us.
Yeah, 56.
And of course, he's in many of Adam Sandler's movies as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm biased because pretty much everything I've seen him in. He's in a new show called The Crew. It's on Netflix, and I on Facebook I'm part of the King of Queens fan page, and somebody had commented about that show, so I checked it out for myself. And dude, I could barely get 15 minutes into the show. I had to turn it off.
Which one was that?
What's that?
Which one was that?
It's a new show that Kevin James is starring in. It's called The Crew.
Oh, I haven't even heard that.
Yeah, it's a new show about like racetrack and pit the pit crew and stuff.
Gotcha.
I tried watching it, and it was brutal. It was so brutal.
Wow.
Like I said, I made it maybe halfway through the show, and I was like, yeah, I got to turn this off. But my standards are high for him because, I mean, he was brilliant in
he was
King
really
of
good in
Queens.
that
When you
show.
talk about like physical comedy, like he was awesome in that show.
Sad to see what's the name of his sidekick in that show? What's her name? Marie?
Leia Remini.
Yeah, boy, does she have some tough times with Scientology.
Yeah, she got out of that, but yeah, she's she's had quite a bit of work done too. But it is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. This day in 1967, this might be the first time we've talked about wrestling. Kane, known as, of course, Glenn Jacobs, who was the mayor of Knoxville, Tennessee. He was actually born in Spain, which I did not know.
No, I didn't know that either.
I think he was one of these guys who was lucky to come around when he did. I'm not saying he wasn't talented, but I never bought a ticket or was never really a big fan of the Kane character. No. I know most of his things was when he was either with or wrestling against The Undertaker.
Yeah, he actually, which is ironic that you bring that up, he was actually inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame about 2 weeks ago.
Oh, he was. Oh, okay.
Yeah, actually, The Undertaker, and I actually saw the video of it on YouTube. He actually is the one who made the call to inform Kane that he had been, voted in.
Oh, no
and he got very emotional. It's weird seeing him, like, he's got the hair, and he's got the suit and tie, and he's still huge. He's still a monster of a man, but just to see like that human side of him, you know what I mean? Like it was just that part was really cool for me, and he was very humble, and you could tell it was a very emotional time for him. He teared up and wiped some tears away, and he was beyond thrilled to get in. But I'm kind of with you on that. That I mean, if I'm watching a pay-per-view or I'm watching the show, period, he wasn't the character that I was drawn to.
No,
which is funny because Undertaker, for me, is he's close to the top, but he's always been and always will be my second favorite wrestler ever.
I think he's the greatest wrestling character of all time. You know what I mean? The actual character that was created. You know what I mean?
Yes. Well, and it's funny to see the evolution of him too.
When you see them early ones, he's wearing like these purple things.
Yeah. Well, I subscribe to the you may as well. You may also, but I subscribe to the WWE channel on YouTube, and last night they had this 3-minute clip. It was the first match between Hogan and The Undertaker, and he had like these huge, he had like the white makeup on and the black paint around his eyes, and
gloves.
he had these massive gloves on.
Yep.
You remember the gloves?
Absolutely.
And the way he lost the match to Hogan, but he tombstoned Hogan. And he gets up, and of course Hogan does his,
Yeah, he comes back to life.
And points to him and says, and then he did that leg drop, which to me was one of the lamest finishers in history.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to take a guy out with a leg drop? Come on.
Mm-hmm. But it worked for him. You knew when he dropped that leg, it was over 1, 2, 3 until the Ultimate Warrior kicked out.
Yes. But I will tell you, George and I are going to dedicate an entire 90-minute show to the WWF/WWE. I don't even think we can even get a 90-minute show. It would literally take, for me personally.
Oh, it would have to be an actual 3-hour WrestleMania.
It would have to be a 2 or 3-parter.
Yeah.
No kidding. That was just part of my teenage years. Was but I'll leave you this before you go to your next event in this day in history. You know what used to crack me up about watching the WWF? You turn it on Saturday morning, and you'd see Ultimate Warrior against Paul Johnson, just nobody, and they'd say, "Oh, this is his first appearance in the WWF," and they would absolutely destroy that guy, embarrass him, and you'd never see the guy again.
No, that would always be the local. They called it talent enhancement, and that's just a guy to get the big man over to get his quick victory.
Yeah, but it used to always crack me up. You didn't have the matches you have now, where you have Triple H versus Randy Orton. It was always
Yep.
The Iron Sheik against Fred Smith,
weighing in at 136 pounds.
And they beat him in literally 38 seconds.
Yeah, before they ring the bell, they pan to the guy, and you can see the fear in his face. I crushed you, Iron Sheik #1. Real quick though, did you know when Kane first came to the WWE or WWF at the time, what his gimmick name was before Kane?
I don't.
It was Isaac Yankum DDS.
That's hilarious.
And it didn't work out. He was in a dentist outfit, and he had guys in a chair. He went away for a few months, and they repackaged him as Kane, and then, of course, it went from there. This day, 1970, a year after I was born, Shane Evans, of course, from Collective Soul. That was one of the last music groups that I really enjoyed. I'm a 64 to 95 era guy, and Collective Soul was one of those last music groups I really enjoyed.
Collective Soul actually probably ranks in my top probably 15 to 20 all-time favorite bands.
Wow.
I'm big, and I've told you this before, I'm big on, if I like a vocalist, if I like their voice, I like the band. If I don't like their voice, then I won't even give them a shot.
Yeah.
Collective Soul just has a very unique sound. Some of those songs that they came out with in those early 90s into the late 90s were just really, really well made, and just good stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. If you haven't seen their concert, we own the DVD. They did a concert with the Atlanta Youth Symphony in Georgia, and it's phenomenal. They're rocking with a huge symphony behind them, and some of their music, especially Run and stuff, is just awesome. You got to check it out if you haven't listened to it.
Yeah, Heavy, Gel.
Yep.
Just a lot of really great songs.
I think Energy is probably one of my favorite songs by them.
Yeah.
Which was a release on their Greatest Hits album. Mm-hmm. The last two we have, Channing Tatum was born this day, 1980, so he'll be 41 today. From Magic Mike and 21 Jump Street fandom. Do you know? Good luck guessing what state he's from.
I'm going to throw it out there again. New Jersey.
Negatroni. Actually, he's from Alabama. I would have never guessed Alabama.
No.
Sorry,
not
go
a
ahead.
fan.
No, me neither. Not a huge fan.
No offense to anybody out there, not a fan. He, I think one of his big first roles was he was in Trouble. It's a movie called Step Up, and it's a chick flick. I mean, by all accounts, it's a chick flick. And I think I want to say his future wife actually was his love interest in the movie. And he was a guy off the street, and he was all, I don't know. I just don't like his whole persona. But again, that's just me. I'm not trying to be critical. I'm just not a fan.
I just don't like, he doesn't take care of himself. He's fat. He's overweight. That's obviously how he got the role in Magic Mike.
Unless he's getting dropped $20 million to make Magic Mike, then he hits the gym for 3 or 4 months, and then once the movie's over, he's,
I'm being sarcastic. And then this day, 1983, Jessica Lynch. So she was only 20 years old. She, of course, is the prisoner of war in 2003 during the invasion of Iraq. And then she's from West Virginia. Kind of weird how that whole thing went down. We were all put on alert when that was going on. I wasn't really too close to where that was going on. But when we saw what happened and heard what happened, we knew it didn't make sense. And, of course, the truth later came out. But either way, glad that she was out of there safely, and she's doing much better today. Did you have any memories about that or anything you wanted to add to that?
I mean, I remember the whole thing going on, watching it, as it happened on TV. But, one of the many things. What year did that happen?
2003.
Okay. Seems longer than that. Yeah,
that was the actual initial invasion of Iraq. That would have been probably April 2003, if I had to guess. Maybe late March.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to take our quick break. We got our comedy interlude, and then we're going to come back. We're going to talk about a few more things, our conspiracy theory of the day. We're going to talk a little bit, we're going to not get serious or anything, but we're going to talk a little bit about how we take care of ourselves now that we are middle-aged, not quite in our golden years. But stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
Steven Wright.
Thanks. Bought some land. It was kind of cheap. It was on somebody else's property. Guy who lives across the street from me has a circular driveway. He can't get out. I borrowed some albums from a friend of mine. I was going to record them onto tape cassette, so I had the wiring all backwards on my stereo and accidentally erased all his records. Gave him back these black blank things. Whenever I fill out an application and it says, in case of emergency, notify, I put doctor. What the hell is my mother gonna do? I can levitate birds, but nobody cares. It's a good thing there's gravity, otherwise when birds died, they'd just stay right up there. Hunters would be all confused. Sponges grow in the ocean. That kills me. I wonder how much deeper the ocean would be if that didn't happen. I have a Ouija surfboard. Woke up this morning, I was folding my bed back into a couch and almost broke both my arms because it's not one of those kind of beds. 24-hour banking? I don't have time for that. So I was driving my car around, decided to hook my brake lights up to my gas pedal. Just to confuse the people behind me. I hit the gas and the brake lights go on, they stop and I'm gone. They say, what is he driving? A friend of mine has a car phone. He has an answering machine on his car phone. The message is, hi, I'm home right now. so I can't come to the phone. But if you leave your name and number, I'll call you when I'm out. Whenever I pick up someone hitchhiking, I always like to wait a few minutes before I say anything to them. Then I say, so, how far do you think you were going? Put your seatbelt on, I want to try something. I saw it in a cartoon, but I'm pretty sure I can do it. I don't have a child now, but when I do have a child, I'm going to buy one of those strollers for twins. I'm going to put him in one side of it, then I'm going to walk around like this. I'm going to tell him he was a twin, too. You were a twin and your brother didn't listen to me. Thanks a lot.
Steven Wright. Oh, my goodness. I think the first time I saw him must have been 86, 87 on HBO, and I just died. I became a fan from that day forward. I'm in tears right now.
Yeah, I'm wiping a few away.
Hilarious.
He's so deadpan. Like, how he keeps a straight face like that is beyond me.
Yeah, and that one part that didn't really carry over on audio when he said, I put the one kid in the stroller and he's looking around like this, trying to pretend like he's looking for the other kid.
Yeah.
Oh,
Classic
good stuff. That was Steven Wright. I need to put these on the website too so people can go back and check them out. So let's talk a bit. We got about 25 minutes left in the show. Let's spend a few minutes. When we were younger, I think like many people, we treated our body like, who cares about tomorrow? Today, George didn't care much about tomorrow, George. I smoked for 20 years. I had my share of beverages, but also some little things that you don't think about, like soda, which is really bad for you. So we just wanted to spend a few minutes on how we differ today health-wise than we did maybe back in our 20s and 30s. You go ahead, Mark.
The thing for me, I think that really got me where I am now is, the fact that I was married previously and I had two daughters that are now both adults. My second daughter being a mother of her own now. And then met my wonderful wife, and we have two young girls. I have a just turned 12-year-old and I have a 7-year-old. Well, me being in my early 50s, it's funny because we'll see pictures of some of our classmates or people that we knew that are either our age or younger. And I look at them, I'm like, oh my good Lord, like, what have you done to yourself? And I guess for me, the mindset is you have one life, one body. And, the choices you make, the things that you eat, the things you ingest and put in your body, and by tweaking things and to me, for me anyway, fitness isn't something that I have to do or, oh man, I gotta go work out. Like it's almost like, getting up and brushing your teeth. It's a way of life for me. But what really got me into this is about 2 years ago. I've always been a thin guy. George, you remember me being, if I stepped sideways, I disappeared.
Yep.
I was in high school. I was probably 135 pounds soaking wet.
I was 147 the day I graduated.
Yeah. So I don't think I hit that until I was close to 30. So, whenever I would have my 6-month checkup, which I've done every year, they'd always say, "Oh, Mr. Kinsey, your blood pressure is normal. It's normal." And I went a couple of years ago, and I was about 236, I believe, and which is the heaviest I'd ever been. And they said, "Well, your blood pressure is right on the border. We're going to have to possibly look into putting you on blood pressure medication." that scared me straight. That was all I needed to hear. Doctor asked me if I wanted to go on it. I said, absolutely not. And then I am where I am today. I'm probably in better shape now at 53 than I was at 33. But again, it's a choice you make. I smoked just like you did. I smoked for about 11 years, and there are some days where I feel it. I never was a big drinker. Never really acquired a taste for it, but I didn't eat, at one point I wasn't eating the way I should. So, it's just, I feel so much better. I feel stronger than I ever have, and different aspects of my life have greatly improved. So what about you?
Well, I'm looking at our website, and Pac-Man just started playing. So, my body has been up and down. Like, I was 147 forever, but for me, when I got married pretty young, my first marriage as well. And you go from home cooking and things like that. You're young, you don't know how to cook. You're eating fast food, and it catches up with you. And I gained some weight.
Cereal.
Yeah, and I always struggled. I always struggled with weight. I never once I hit my early 20s, my thyroid stopped working right, and if I drive past Burger King, I gain 5 pounds just driving past it. It's always been a thing. But when I was going back into the Army, I had to get back in shape, obviously, and I was in shape for 20 years. I used to run when I was in Iraq, and I'm talking you're in the middle of the desert. I ran a half marathon, 13 miles. I've done 10 miles. I did 5Ks every week. But then with the body armor and all that stuff, and I had a compression fracture in my neck when I was in Baghdad, 2008. All these things add up. I've had 2 knee surgeries. So when I got out of the Army 5 years ago, my body was broken down. But what I didn't adjust for was the calorie intake. I knew what I could do, but when you retire from the Army, you're not as active. And then it caught back up with me again. And then you start to, same thing with you, going to the doctors. They're like, man, your blood sugar's pretty high. We might have to look at getting you on some, diabetic medication. I was like, no, I don't think so. So just by not drinking soda, nothing else. I didn't really change anything else. Just by not drinking soda, I lost a ton of weight. And that's the only thing I really changed. And then I thought, wow, what if I changed this? And then I started getting on a supergrass shake I make in the morning. So instead of like a McMuffin or something, I had that. And then I'd put fruit in it and some hemp seeds. And that was my breakfast. And for lunch, instead of a burger or something, I was eating salads. I am eating salads. And then for dinner, I'm pretty loose about that. And I'm in the best shape I've been in since I've retired. I tried running a couple weeks ago. I went 2.7 miles, and it was probably a bad decision because I jacked my back up. It took me about 45 minutes to get out of bed this morning. I might have to see the doctor, actually. It's probably something I overdid. You have to. I've been telling my son, because he's a big runner, that I want to do another 5K. I want to get back into doing a 5Ks. But once again, there's some things you can do. There's some things you can't do. Some people like yourself like to lift weights. Some people like me, I'm more into cardio. I do my push-ups every morning. And some things, for some people, it's simple as just eating carefully and doing your yoga or whatever it is. But Gunnar, I was just talking to Mark this morning, getting ready for my show Wednesday. Gunnar was talking about how you only have one journey and you only have one life. And everybody, it's your own journey. And it is what you make of it. And if you enjoy eating fast food, that's your thing. But your journey's not going to be as long as if you take care of yourself.
Yeah, and I'm the kind of person I like to keep well informed, and then I read a lot about diet, about physical fitness, about just overall well-being. Watch a lot of videos, a lot of YouTube videos, and then what I kind of do is I pick and choose. One thing that I really did learn is what's going to work for you may not work for me, and what's going to work for me may not work for you. And you just have to kind of incorporate your own things that you enjoy doing, what works best, and then, just kind of add to it. But you were talking about diet earlier. One thing, this one guy that I do watch, he's actually a co-owner of a supplement company out in California. His videos are really, really informative. And he said something that was something I didn't know, and I just actually heard this last week. And he said that he was trying to get more shredded and look more muscular. But what he said is he still eats his pizza, his 3-4 slices of pizza. He still eats his sushi. He still eats, an occasional donut. Because you said, you have that one meal a day. Because you hear people say, like I heard The Rock, Dwayne Johnson say, I have one cheat meal a week. This guy says, well, I have a cheat meal every day. But here's the key. It's reducing your caloric intake.
Yeah.
As long as you are putting good calories in your body, you're allowed to have that cheat meal a day. But like you said, supplement, a bagel for, a shake,
yep.
A good healthy shake, eat clean, eat, chicken and, grilled chicken or, throw something on the grill and, shrimp or, spinach. I'm not a big spinach guy, but if it's mixed with something, I can eat it. Green beans, lower salt intake. Yep. Salt is a big thing. You brought up soda a moment ago. In my opinion, and you and I have talked about this when we've gotten together and met for lunch and things, that, to me, soda is poison.
Yep.
I mean, there's really no other way to say it. When you look at just what's in it, I think you and I were talking about this, how my nephew had a bottle. It was the 20 ounce Mountain Dew. And I looked at the nutrient facts on it. And that bottle, it was like 122 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
Like, my Lord, like, seriously, you're putting that in your body?
And then you see it's like 180 calories, but then you look closer, that's only for a half a serving. So you're talking about 300 and some calories, all the sugars.
Yes.
It's poison. It really is. And look, I'm not a hypocrite. Everybody's going to do what they're going to want to do. But I was drinking, I can't say it much more than what it is, than poison. We got about 14 minutes left in the show. Do you want to close on this, and then we'll move on to our last two subjects? And I'm glad we brought this up. Gunnar brought it up the other day. He said, let's hit on this real quick because it's something. Look, there's people in this world that can depend on you, who love you, and what you put in your body is very much will have to do with how long you stick around on this planet. Yeah,
and the close with that, I have a 1.5-year-old granddaughter who is extremely active, love her to death. And she's just, when she's here, when I have her, when I watch her each week, she's all over the place. She's running around, and I don't want to be sucking wind, chasing after her. Like, I want to be that granddad that's active, and I'm getting down on the floor and playing with her. And, and I think of this when I see you, George, and myself. Like, we don't look our age, I don't think. And honestly, when I saw you a couple weeks ago, you look great. It was the best I'd seen you, and I mean this in a complimentary way. You looked the best I'd seen you in a long time. You were trim, and you looked healthy and vibrant. And I know it's just the simple tweaks that you're making and the changes you're making in your diet, and it's working for you, man.
I noticed the ladies were checking me out.
Yeah, man, all the time, bro. But no, and we're here to encourage each other, and that's something that we both do. I want to look my best. I want to feel my best. And I want to be around a long time. So, that's why we brought this segment of the show up. That it is important, and we may touch more on it in later shows, but we just kind of wanted to introduce that part of it.
All right, 2 segments left. Our conspiracy theory of the day, and then our retro sports memory of the day, which is one I remember very well. Conspiracy. Stanley Meyer, you ever heard of him?
Yes.
Really?
Don't know a whole lot about him.
No kidding.
No.
You're like, even in the realm that I'm in, a lot of people haven't heard about him. I'm really impressed. So let me give the backstory, and then I'm going to ask you a straight up question for the folks at home. Born August 1940, Columbus, Ohio, religious guy. Did a few years in the military, went to Ohio State University. all kinds of patent. The guy was probably one of the top 10 smartest Americans to ever live, and that is not an understatement. He had patents in banking, oceanography, cardiac monitoring, all of it. But his most famous patent was the hydrogen car. And if this guy was not murdered, and this was truly as free a country as they claim it is, not one of us would be driving the cars we're driving right now. But because the American dollar is the petrodollar, he had a meeting with two quote-unquote Belgian investors. He sat down at the dinner table. They had a toast. He took a sip of his cranberry juice, grabbed his throat, ran outside, and his last words were, "They poisoned me," and he died. So
Wow.
I'm so impressed you knew about that. How did you find out about him?
Just a lot of the reading I do, and I tend to go online and just look up random stuff. I know all that you knew about him, to be quite honest with you, but I did know a little bit, but not much.
What did you know about him? But just about the hydrogen car he was developing?
Yes. And that's pretty much the only thing I know about him.
That's more than most people know, to be honest with you. He made a buggy. It looked like an old school dune buggy, right? With a hydrogen battery engine, whatever you want to call it. He could drive from Los Angeles to New York City on 13 gallons of water. And here's the kicker, man. It didn't matter if it was tap water, salt water, or freaking yellow snow. It would run on it. So my thing is, the next time you hear a politician talking about climate change, this is why you can point to things like this and it's a lie. This was, I think, a combination of the CIA and big oil had him snuffed out because, listen, our dollar is based on petro.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's definitely the big oil companies. It was all arranged, I'm sure.
And if you go on YouTube, put in his name, Stanley Meyer, you'll see the video, late 80s, early 90s VHF quality interviews with him driving his car. Then there's a really stunning video. He goes for about 13 minutes talking about basically what's going on today. It's really incredible. I urge all of y'all to take a few minutes and research Stanley Meyer. He'll open your eyes. Did you have any other theories on your mind?
No. Like I said, we talked about this the other day. The Kennedy conspiracy, and we'll probably bring this up on another show. The whole 9/11 thing, but
that was an inside job. When you ask, if I were to stand outside a Walmart and ask people how many towers fell that day, I would venture to say that 80 to 85% of the people would say 2.
Yeah.
Nobody knows about World Trade Center building number 7.
Yeah, which came down later that afternoon, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which nobody knows about. Did you know that those buildings were purchased 5 weeks before 9/11 by Larry Silverstein?
Yes,
and he took out $4.3 billion in insurance?
Insurance policy. Yep, I did know that.
And he went to work every day, but that particular morning he just happened to have a doctor's appointment.
Yeah, that I also knew. Yeah, I actually had heard that, excuse me, a number of years back that had happened. And that was kind of when you started hearing these possibilities and these different scenarios that could have happened. And that's when it first kind of grabbed my attention. And I remember, probably like a fool, I remember bringing it up to another friend of mine, and they looked at me like I had lobsters coming out of my ears. Like, what? Like, dude, it was terrorists. I'm like, yeah.
If people don't understand that there's zero chance of an airplane getting anywhere near the Washington, D.C. area, and I mean zero, without it being taken down, then you just don't get the level of conspiracy that went on that day. And if you want to know more, this isn't a big conspiracy show. We just do it for fun, as a segment. But you can go to my website, thefacthunter.com, and there's a bunch of videos, The Truth About 9/11, or you can listen to my podcast, The Fact Hunter. It's on the Spreaker family here, and we'll be promoting this show tomorrow night as well. So go check that out if you're into conspiracies. It's The Fact Hunter. So we've got about 6 or 7 minutes left. Our retro sports memory of the day. And this is one of those things I remember exactly where I was. I was in a hotel room. I think we took a trip. Because we had just gotten married, if I'm not mistaken, but it was October 1988. And it was, one of the most famous World Series home runs, I would say, shy of obviously Joe Carter in '93. And is there any other bigger ones than that? Am I missing something?
I know exactly what moment you were talking about. I can't discuss where I was that night, but
he was in the
Clank.
Clank.
I would say it's probably the most iconic home run of the '80s.
For sure.
It was just. And I guess because of the circumstances building up to this particular player making this at bat.
Yeah, because you remember it's 2 out, bottom of the ninth. Kirk Gibson was held out of the lineup that day because he was injured. So he's literally limping to home plate to bat.
Yes, limping to the batter's box. And like I said, I remember exactly where I was. I remember, what the scenario was. I remember being tuned into the game. And what was funny about that year, that was against the A's, correct?
Yes, sir. Dennis Eckersley was on the mound.
And I remember going into that series that was in the A's heyday, before they had the 3 straight World Series appearances. Yep. And they were highly considered to win that World Series easily. So I'll let you take over.
Here we go. And this is the dramatic 2 outs, bottom of the ninth. Kirk Gibson limping to the plate. Let's take it to the legendary Jack Buck.
But the game right now is at the plate. High fly ball into right field. She is gone.
He is limping around the bases. Lasorda's going nuts.
Company's right on him.
Yep.
In a year that has been so improbable, the impossible has happened.
Jack Buck knew how to call him, didn't he?
He did.
And then I've got a quick interview. This is shortly after, folks. This is a good 5 minutes after that happened. Not one person has left the stadium.
I guarantee you this, the parking lot at Chavez Ravine is empty. Nobody has left their seats, and now the man of the hour is back out on the field. Kirk Gibson, have you ever had a feeling like this?
Well, it's hard to match, I'll say that, and, it's, I guess, a storybook. I was very disappointed today because I knew I couldn't play. I knew I'd be a detriment, and I got an injection today, and I was very sore, but I saw the opportunity. I knew we could get a guy on base. The pitcher was coming up, and I figured if I got out there and the fans started cheering, that I could suck it up for 1AB and maybe something good would happen, and it happened.
How much pain were you in at the plate?
Well, it was tough. Pushing up my front foot, and my other hamstring was hurting me. I got 2 bad legs, but when I got 2 strikes on, I just decided to buckle it down, and Mike got the second. I knew I really didn't have to hit a home run. I kind of was going to shorten up and try and drive the ball the other way, and I got a breaking ball that he got out as low, the ball I like to hit, and I was just fortunate. The good Lord gave me this wonderful moment.
Wow, there was 2 strikes, too. I didn't remember that.
Yeah, those details, maybe not, but yeah. And it's funny, when you watch the video, it doesn't look like he got much of it.
No,
it's almost like he took a defensive swing.
It was a short, but it was a really compact short swing. And he hit it just on the sweet spot.
And I just remember the look on Dennis Eckersley's face, like, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, he threw his arms down like there's
really
no way that just happened.
Yeah, he was really good. Well, Eckersley for many years was one of arguably the best closer in baseball. I mean, he was just so dominant, and Gibson took him deep, and that kind of changed the whole face of the series.
It did. And Dodgers went on to win. Sorry about my voice. My allergies are killing me. Dodgers went on to win the series. The A's would return the next year in '89. And if I'm not mistaken, wasn't that the Earthquake series?
That was against the San Francisco Giants, the Earthquake series, yes. And I believe they swept them in 4 games.
Now, that was like during Game 2. That was the earthquake that happened during the warm-ups, and
yes,
it was delayed, 3, 4, 5 days?
I want to say 4 days it was delayed. Yeah. And you and I were working at a bank up in Wilmington at that time when that happened.
Is that right? Yeah,
yes,
you are right. That would have been October of 89.
Yeah, yep.
The good old days. Do you remember that place next door to where we used to work? We could go in there for lunch and have a beer and a pizza. What was the name of that place?
Yeah,
it was
I
like
know
an
what you
Irish
mean.
place.
Yeah, and it changed hands a number of times, and I don't know what it is now. I know they closed for a long time, but yeah, it was a great little place and it was good food. You go in there, and like you said, you yourself would catch a beer, and we'd have a burger or a pizza, and there was some great times, bro.
Yeah, and the Comedy Cabaret was right around there too, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, Comedy Cabaret, and we'll touch base on that too. But you had a couple of infamous appearances there.
Yeah, and I saw Jackie the Joke Man Martling from the Howard Stern show there.
Wow.
He was phenomenal. That guy went for about 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
He called me a walking thermos. I had this red plaid shirt on. You remember the old thermoses from the 80s?
Uh-huh.
It's good to get ragged on by Jackie the Joke Man Martling. Well, we're at the 11:05 a.m. We're pre-recording. Any closing thoughts?
No, as always, always good to reminisce and talk about this. We often, when we are together, we always say how great the 80s were. Great company, great topics, great movies, great music. Just a fun decade. Had its share of controversy, as all decades do. But I remember, hearing my parents saying that, back then when they were younger, it was a simpler time.
Yeah.
Well, now that I'm 53, I look back on the 80s and I also say that it was a simpler time. And, I look back on it fondly, which is the whole purpose of the show. We enjoy sharing it with you in the 90 minutes. The 90 minutes goes fast, man. I can't believe it's at the end of the show, but we are very much looking forward to going out again in a few days or so and having episode 3.
Indeed. TheWeeklyRetro.com, TheWeeklyRetro.com. Check out our songs of the week, our movies of the week, and you can watch Commando in full on our website. Just click on Movies of the Week, and I also added some retro video games throughout the website, so if you want to play some Pac-Man, Donkey Kong, they're all on the website at your one-stop retro site. And if you have any questions, comments, concerns, TheWeeklyRetro@mail.com, TheWeeklyRetro@mail.com. For Gunner, I am George. As always, it's a pleasure. Hey, look on the website for the next show for the information. We will see ya.